Hey everybody, Jake here and welcome to the hobby. In today's video I'd like to talk about the recent price spikes in modern Pokemon cards, and what I recognize now is that these prices don't exist in a vacuum. They mean something to the greater market. They make a large impact. And what these new price points do is they create a new standard for Pokemon cards. Once you see a card like the Umbreon VMAX going for $1,600, once you see the Greninja EX going for $800, the collector market start to accept other price points. They start to say, heck yeah, a modern Pokemon card in a recent set going for $800 is the normal. And when that becomes the norm, everyone starts being more okay with other cards also being very expensive, which is why when one card becomes expensive, other cards start to follow suit. So I wanted to touch on some of the cards that we are seeing large price climbs in, why we are seeing that, and how this can impact the greater market. Before we get started, I would like to give a huge thank you to Whatnot for sponsoring today's video. I'm going to be teaming up with Whatnot this weekend to do a couple of live streams where I'm going to be giving away a ton of Surging Sparks booster packs. If you're free this weekend, definitely check out my live streams because you can be one of the lucky winners where you can get some really awesome Surging Sparks packs, and hopefully we can pull some Pikachu EX, Latias EX, and other special illustration rares for viewers just like you. As well, I am going to be opening up my vault this weekend where I have a ton of really awesome, cool Pokemon cards that I think any collector would want inside of their collection. All of these cards are going to go up for $1 auction. A lot of them are going to go for under market price, so definitely check it out. It doesn't get any more affordable or approachable than a $1 auction. They are incredibly fair, and may the best bidder win. Thank you to Whatnot for sponsoring today's video, and let's get talking about some awesome modern Pokemon cards that are skyrocketing in price and why this is happening right now. I wrote down a lot of numbers for you guys just so that I don't misspeak on something, but a lot of modern Pokemon cards are climbing very well, so we're going to talk about some of the ones that are climbing very well, but I also wanted to talk about the vintage market. I'm going to use a couple of examples from the vintage market so that you can see how things are doing. Some of these examples are really straightforward. The first one is obviously the base set Unlimited Charizard. This is a very common card that I use to represent the vintage market, because if the vintage market is doing very well, the Charizard is doing very well. And if the Charizard is doing very well, then usually the vintage market is doing very well. And currently for the whole entire year, base set Charizard is a flat line. Lots of cards are trading hands every single day. You can find eBay sold listings, TCG player sold listings. Every single day there's multiple copies being transacted. So this is a very common card to keep track of. And it's a flat line, which is not technically a bad thing either. Next up, we got ourselves the Neo Lugia, another really awesome vintage Pokemon cards. Again, flat line, not doing super well, not really climbing at all, but a very solid card to pick up at any given time. And we're going to talk about some cards that I would think are less vintage, and that is going to be the Mario Pikachu. It's hard to say that this is vintage, but it's getting pretty old, and you can see it's going the exact same direction as the older market, which is a complete flat line. A year ago, the Mario Pikachu box was going for right around $5,400. Looking at it on the collector app, is currently going for right around $5,500. So it's gone up like $100, which is 2% over the last year, which is absolutely nothing for a Pokemon card product, which makes total sense. Pretty much when I say modern Pokemon cards, I'm talking about cards that have been printed within the last 5 years, specifically cards that have been printed in the last 4 years. Anything older than that, then you're talking about vintage. And the reason why I call that market vintage is because it's out of people's mind. No one is talking about Mario Pikachu or base set Charizard going up or down on a regular basis, because a lot of those cards have reached their middle point where they're not really climbing. They've kind of set into the market. The supply is set, the demand is set, and things are really cooling off for them. Usually modern cards shift a lot because things are very excited. There's tons of variables. You don't know what's going to happen next. So that's why a lot of cards for the modern markets are making huge swings. So let's talk about some of those huge swings right now. The hugest swings that we can see right now is probably going to be the Bubble Mew. Very aptly named, the Bubble Mew. It was going for $250 at its lowest point and in a PSA 10, and right now the Mew EX in a PSA 10 is currently going for right around $550. So doubling in value is very solid for this card. The next card that we have to talk about is a little bit more vintage, but still a very solid card, and that is the Latios and Latios Tag Team GX. Another really cool card. This card in a PSA 10 earlier this year was going for as low as $1,500 in a PSA 10, which is an incredible price for it. I would highly recommend picking up at that price point. It's obviously off the market at that price. And right now, the Latios and Latios Tag Team GX card is currently going for right around $2,800, so close to doubling in value in the last year. This card has teeter-tottered over the last couple of years, so this is not its highest peak. I remember a year ago, or even 2 years ago, it was going for as much as $4,000 in a PSA 10. So that's how volatile the modern Pokemon card market can be. Cards are swinging up and down by hundreds of percent and thousands of dollars on a month-to-month basis, which is absolutely wild. Another card that we definitely have to talk about is the Umbreon V Max. This card is also doing insane climbs right now. It's reaching levels that are kind of unheard of for a modern Pokemon card, especially a modern Pokemon card that you can find inside of a regular Pokemon card set, right? Because you can find promo cards, you can find trophy cards that are worth thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars pretty easily in the modern Pokemon card market. But for a card that you can pull inside of a booster pack, and Evolving Skies is getting rare. It's definitely getting rare to find Evolving Skies booster packs, but it's not impossible. Could you still find Evolving Skies booster packs inside of a random collector box somewhere inside of a Walmart or a Target or a Macy's or wherever else people buy Pokemon cards but have kind of forgotten that they exist there? Yes, it's absolutely possible for you to find a random EX collection box with an Evolving Skies booster pack inside hiding an Umbreon V Max, which is kind of astounding. And this card is currently going for right around $1,600 to $1,700 in a PSA 10, which is bonkers prices for a modern Pokemon card, especially one inside of a set. There's plenty of other card games where they have cards that reach this level, right? It's possible for you to find a manga rare One Piece card that is going for thousands of dollars, and there's White Schwartz cards and Magic the Gathering cards, especially the numbered Magic the Gathering cards, which are going for thousands of dollars as well. But this is an Umbreon VMAX. It's not a numbered Umbreon VMAX, right? There are thousands of copies of this card. And that's not me taking a jab at it. That's just the fact. There are thousands and thousands of PSA 10 copies of this card, and it's still able to reach this price point, which is astounding. It kind of shows how healthy and robust the Pokemon card market is, that you can have tens of thousands of Umbreon VMAX, and they can still support this kind of price. That's what I'm trying to say, is it's incredible for a card like this to hold this kind of value. And just so we're aware, I do not own a PSA 10 Umbreon VMAX, and that's okay. I don't own this card. I'm not biased towards this card. I don't hate it. I don't dislike it. I don't love it. It's just a card that we're talking about because it's making these crazy movements. And the next card that we're going to talk about is the Charizard EX. The Sunzard, as people call it. We got the Moonbreon, now we got the Sunzard. And this card in a PSA 10 is currently going for right around $600. The price on it has dipped a little bit since there's been news that there's going to be more 151 booster packs coming out later this year and into early next year. We are still finding a ton of packs available in places like Costco, pallet loads of them. They sell out very quickly. I'm not saying that they're readily available, but even though they're selling very quickly, you're still talking about thousands of packs being added to these retail locations. And when you crack open these packs, people are still finding plenty of copies of Sunzards. I'm seeing it on social media where people are still pulling God packs of the Charizard EX, which is very, very cool. These Charizard EX cards are being added to the market, whether that collector is selling it or not. So that's why the Sunzard price is staggering a little bit. That's pretty normal when more cards are being added to the market. Another card that I definitely want to touch on is going to be the Greninja EX. The Greninja EX is really going parabolic right now, which is kind of astounding. Like I said, this is just something that showcases how robust the Pokemon card market is. I don't know of a single collector that said that it was going to go for $750 in a PSA 10, but that's how much the prices on it are going for. And that just means we are reaching new levels in the hobby where people are very accepting now of a $1,000 modern chase card. That just seems to be the norm. And so when that becomes the norm, people start to accept these new price points where they say, hey, a brand new Pokemon card inside of a brand new set going for $500? Sure. if that's the norm, people start willing to accept that price point and buy those price points. Because if you said that 4 years ago, I think a lot of collectors would say, that's absurd. I'm never going to buy that card. That's insane. We don't have any data on that. There's no way that's real. But nowadays, when more and more cards are reaching $500, $700, $800, $1,600 in the case of the Umbreon VMAX, you start to say, hey, a Greninja EX in $500, $600, that's not so unreasonable anymore. That just seems like the norm. And when something becomes the norm, these prices become more acceptable. So what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to explain why some of these price points are now so common, really. And I also wanted to touch on the sealed modern Pokemon card market, because it's very interesting what's happening to certain Pokemon card sets, especially even older sets that aren't good. I would say these are sets that most people would say are not that good, not very popular sets that people have scoffed at for years. I didn't scoff at these sets, but some sets like Battle Styles. Battle Styles was considered one of the worst Sword and Shield set when you compare it to other sets like Chilling Reign, Fusion Strike, Evolving Skies, other sets that came out the same year as it. Battle Styles is not considered that good of a set. Booster box of it was going for as low as 70 to 80 bucks at certain points. And now you can find Battle Styles booster boxes going for 130 to 140, which is not the hugest climb, but for a modern Pokemon card set that is not that old and considered not that good, to still be climbing in value showcases how robust and interesting the market is, that these price points just keep climbing. Some other booster boxes that are climbing up include modern sets that I do believe are going to get restocked over the next year. Things like Paldea Evolve. Paldea Evolve booster boxes are now going for as much as 140 and 150. Twilight Masquerade booster boxes are now going for 160, 170. These are sets that are simply not that old. Paldea Evolve, less likely to be restocked. Twilight Masquerade, most definitely going to be restocked over the next 2 years, just because it's such a modern Pokemon card set. The Pokemon company needs it to be in people's hands so that they can open up cards to compete with, and they don't want booster boxes to be going for above retail price, so it's almost a guaranteed restock and reprint. But it's very interesting because obviously that's going to impact the Greninja EX price. I don't know if a restock would even dip the price of the Greninja EX, and that's something that I probably wouldn't have said 4 or 5 months ago. And that's where my field of view is changing, because I now see how robust the market is. Like I said, when a card becomes the norm, when a new price point becomes the norm, people start accepting a $1,000 Pokemon card as normal. People are saying, yeah, a modern Pokemon card that came out in a recent set being 500 bucks, that's normal. What is the price for the Umbreon Master Ball when it comes out in Prismatic Evolution? Who knows? But people might accept it at a $300 price point. If people start picking it up at $300, that becomes the norm. That becomes the set price for it for the future. So that anchoring point makes a huge difference. Once people start accepting these higher and higher price points, they don't seem as absurd anymore, right? Because if I told you 3 or 4 years ago that we were going to get a modern Pokemon card set where a PSA 10 chase card inside of it, we're going to go for $1,000, $800, you would say, I'm insane, that's ludicrous. But nowadays, when so many modern Pokemon card sets have super expensive cards, right? PSA 10s going for $500, $600, $800, $1,600 in the case of the Umbreon VMAX, those price points start becoming a lot more acceptable. Alright everybody, that's the end of today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoy seeing what the Pokemon card market is currently doing. I really wanted to touch on just how robust the market is. And like I said, this is the new norm. Once cards start reaching new levels of acceptance in the price market, where everyone is okay with a $500 modern Pokemon card, those prices become the normal. Everyone's picking up cards at that price point. Prismatic Evolution's probably going to have big chase cards where you're going to say, oh, a $500 chase card? We see that all the time now. So it becomes the normal, and those price points no longer seem as absurd. So that's where we're getting at. It's a completely different change in perspective on collectibles. So it's going to be interesting to see where things go. If these price points stick, everyone's going to start buying them at that price because that's what we've sort of accepted. So let me know what your thoughts are. Are these price points kind of astounding to you? Because it's pretty wild to me how many Umbreon VMAX can hit the market, and people are willing to accept those prices, so that's where it stays. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.